All right, it is 1 o'clock. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today here at AR Today. So today's training is actually going to be on creating VR with AR, and I think this is going to be super. AR standing for augmented reality. But today I'm going to show you a creative way to start creating VR experiences or virtual reality. So that's our topic of the day, and let's go ahead and hop into our training. And so if you don't know, my name is Casey Pollock. The name of my company is Near Future Marketing, and the name of this meetup is AR Today. So that's how they're all related. AR Today, I basically try free meetups at least once a month and basically train people on how to create augmented reality experiences or some of the art and asset creation that's related to that. So that's basically what we're doing here. And let's go ahead and continue on with our slides. And so virtual reality is a completely digital world controlled by the user's gaze and input. And another way of thinking about this is also known as like a video game where the main camera is attached to your head. So imagine you are in the video game, and when you look left in the game. You look right in the game. That's basically what virtual reality is. And it's, don't have to complicate it any further than that. And so I built an example for you guys. So here is virtual reality on an iPad, and you can see this is making use of, and what you're seeing here is ancient Egypt mapped over the real world. And you can see we still have that 6 degrees of freedom where we can move closer or farther away to anything that's in this virtual world. So that's virtual reality. Then augmented reality is where we have digital content mapped to the real world with the live camera feed. So you can think about a hologram, any type of 2D or 3D animation or model that's anchored to the room or maybe to your glasses. That is what augmented reality is. And again, here's just another cool demo where you have the same AR Today model in the exact same spot, but you can see the real world, and therefore it's considered augmented reality. And same thing, we have that 6 degrees of freedom, so we can move as close or as far away as we'd like by physically walking closer to the model. So both of these are really, really cool. I can tell you that AR is expected to be a lot bigger than VR, and that's kind of why my focus has always been on AR, but definitely they're, I would say, conjoined twins, in that AR can't grow VR first. That's the start of devices from Facebook and others where they use both technologies to deliver either experience. So this is really cool, and we're going to cover it today. And so again, just a short reminder, I do make a bunch of different apps. I have many apps in the App Store. So when it comes to AR and VR, here's a list of those apps right here. And, I would love for you to take a look at those and check them out and give them 5 stars when you can. Another thing I wanted to point out is that there is strong computer vision with scene understanding. That's the underlying technology that powers AR. But that means that we have a AI that's being fed data directly from the camera, and from those camera images is able to recognize what's in the frame and exactly where that would be in a 3D space. On the right side there, it's mapping it all in 3D, and it's just kind of marking where specific points are. And on the left-hand side, you can see the actual live camera feed, and again, you can see where the points are being detected on the different 3D objects. So this is how everything works, but you don't really need to think about that too much, because honestly, if you're using ARKit, it's really just enabling the different types of tracking, and from there, a lot of that work is done by the device itself. It's not necessarily a lot of code that you have to write to track the world anymore. So that's really cool. And basically, we're taking advantage of this data to create our VR experiences today. So again, this is something that you don't need to do a lot of code for, but as a result, we are able to create something really, really cool that in the past would have been, really impossible but now we can do it super quick. So let's talk about a few definitions here. We have our AR frame, which is, again, just a video image from the actual device. So this is basically whenever you're in augmented reality, it's recording in 60 frames per second, and it's also recording accelerometer and gyroscope data. So the device always knows where you are. It always knows where you're facing, what you're looking at. And as a result, we can basically use that information as it updates in real time, 60 frames per second. So AR frames are pretty useful. From there, we have Euler angles, and this just describes the 3 different ways that we can rotate. So if you look at our chart at the bottom, we have the green arrows, we have the light blue arrows, and we have the dark blue arrows. And you can see where those are basically rotating left and right, up and down, front to back. And that's just basically all the different ways that you really could move. And so those are our 3 directions when it comes to rotating. Our world origin, if you look again at our diagram, this would be that complete center point where all the arrows intersect each other. So right there in the middle, that is our world origin, essentially 0, 0, 0. It's the start of the world, and that's just basically going to be the default place where anything would map itself if you didn't give it any directions. Some additional definitions that are worth pointing out would be world space, which is any of the space that's in your virtual world. Screen space, that's going to be any of the space that's on your screen. And then our 3DOF, or 3 degrees of freedom, again, that's just referring back to our Euler angles where we can look in different directions. And then our 6 degrees of freedom, or 6DOF, would be our entire diagram there, where we have all of the rotational angles and we have all of the movement angles where we can move up and down, left and right, and we can look in any direction. So that's everything you really need to know to kind of understand what's going on here as we talk about these different functions and variables that basically are really important to our world. I don't think you really need to focus on anything else other than these very bare essentials, because the rest is really up to your imagination, I would say. And that brings us to our next slide, which is just imagine the impossible. I think this is just a really, really cool technology. There's unlimited things you can do. I'd often say if you can see it, you can augment it, and that extends to virtual reality as well. Anything that you've seen in the real world, any place that you've been in the real world, could definitely be recreated in augmented or virtual reality. And from there, you can, customize things and just really create things that would never have been able to exist in real life, but are loosely based on real life properties like physics. If you can see that diagram there in the bottom left, imagine pulling out emails like that and how it just kind of animates and flips around and jumps around. Completely unnecessary, but definitely it looks really cool. And if I could read my emails like that, I would definitely read my emails like that today. So imagine the impossible, and let's go ahead and just hop straight to our demo here. I do want to remind everyone that if you have any questions, we do have an open Q&A box, so go ahead and type your questions in and I will try to answer them. But let's close all of these extra windows here and get it down to nothing. And then really quick, let's check if we have any questions yet. Bill, yes, we are recording, so definitely take a look at the recording later. And anyone else hearing dropouts, hopefully my connection's pretty smooth today. I'm not sure about the dropouts, but there will be a recording made available later, so feel free to take a look at that. All right, so let's open up the website here. Again, the name of my company is Near Future Marketing, so here's the website here at the top. And once you're on my website, you can just click the Augmented Reality Today, and that's everything that relates to our meetup here. So if you haven't, please go ahead and join the meetup. I pay 20 bucks a month for that, so I appreciate every single member. And if you can, definitely donate. Again, it's a free meetup. I do all of these trainings for free, so I would definitely appreciate anything like that. But on the website here, you can actually tap the free assets button, and that will bring you to our folder where you can download all of the free assets from all of our meetups. So today's meetup, again, is about creating VR with AR. And what you would do is just find that folder, right click it, and then you can press the download button, and that will automatically zip the entire folder and allow you to download it. But if you want it to just download one specific thing, you can click in and download that one specific thing. So tried to make it really flexible for everybody. But again, you can download that directly from my website, nearfuture.marketing. So for today's project, we are going to open Xcode. And so again, if you have not used Xcode, let me just quickly cover that, because again, I do want to apologize. I know previously this meetup was scheduled for 3D modeling, and we actually switched this around at the last second. Not directly my fault, but definitely in the future we'll cover 3D modeling. I just think what we're going to show off today is really, really cool, and I'm not the 3D modeling expert. So that's why we switched topics here. So I would definitely suggest downloading Xcode, but before we even do that, let's actually hop straight into a demo of what I'm going to be showing you. So really quickly, I'm just grabbing my iPad and plugging it up. And I want to show you guys a new app I've been working on, because this VR mode is not something that you'll really find anywhere else in the App Store. So we'll open QuickTime. And I will open a new screen recording, new movie recording, actually. Okay, perfect. Hey, everybody. And let's switch it to, does not see my iPad at the moment. Let's make sure, I'll try plugging this up one more time. And if not, we'll do this the really hard way, but hopefully it would show my iPad. There we go. Perfect. Perfect. All right. So the downside of this is I think, oh, yeah, let's not do that. I don't think you can hear my audio. Let's try just in case. No, that did not help, I don't think. Let's see, can you? Yeah, so you can't hear the audio from the world, which sucks, but you should be able to see this actual virtual world. So this is a new app I've been working on. It's called Zoodle VR. And the idea here is that you have unlimited virtual worlds to really just do whatever you want artistically. So if we tap the arrows here, we can actually load up the next world, which sometimes will be a little slow depending on how big the world is. But you can see here now we're in the city place. And if I tap the left arrow, we'll go back to the day place, which is like this open desert. So there's many virtual worlds I've created, and it's pretty cool. Let's go back to the city here. So when you're in these virtual worlds, you can actually just swipe up or down, and that will allow you to basically move. So you can see here, I'm actually flying through this world, and I can inch like that. I can inch, and just kind of move 1 foot at a time, I'd like. So really, you know, I can fly in any direction. I can look in any direction. Let's say I want it to fly that way, I can fly that way. And if I just want it to look in a different way and fly that way, I could fly that way easily. So that's super cool. If I tap again, and you see that we have this little hummingbird here, so we'll tap the hummingbird button. That brings us to bird view, and that allows me to basically fly a lot faster. So you can see now I don't have to swipe at all. I point in the direction that I'd like to fly, and I will fly in that direction. And if I wanted to speed that up, I can still swipe up, and that allows me to fly a little bit faster. So you can see now we're really zipping through the city here. But what's really cool about this that you can't see at the moment is I'm just sitting in my chair and I'm kind of pointing in all directions like a crazy person, but that's because this is really mapped to the real world. So let's take a look at another world, and then I'll show you the AR mode. So we'll go back to our home button here, and we'll swipe right this time. So I'll just swipe, and you can see now that brings me back to the down to the, oh, actually that's a bug. It should have updated the UI there. So we'll swipe, and that brings us to the city. And let's swipe again. And you can see now we're in a different version of the day place, which is called the sunset place. And just ignore, as you can see, it still says downtown city. So that's a bug. But as we swipe through here, you'll notice it just basically loads all of these different worlds, and these worlds are massive. Each one of these worlds is actually the size of 2.5 football fields, I believe. I did the math, and I believe it's 2.5 football fields, in all directions. So really, really massive world. And if you wanted to, you could physically walk through this world. So imagine like walking down the street or walking your dog. You could physically walk in this world for, up to 2 football fields. I've done it. I've walked a dog and played around with this virtual reality world. And yeah, it's really, really massive. And you can stay inside of it. And what's cool for me is that all of the work that I've done with my previous apps in AR, I actually built this on top of AugmaOS. So all of those previous things that I've created are here. So if I tap the pen there, we have our 3D brush. I can swipe in or out to make that bigger or smaller. And then I can start drawing, maybe, swipe this way, have a different color, this way, have another color. You get the idea. And same thing here, I can adjust. Maybe I want to draw with a square. Maybe I want to draw with a metallic brush. So many different things you can do. And then again, this is all mapped to the real world, but because we're in VR mode, this is also mapped to the virtual world. So if I, again, swipe down, I can back up. You can see that that's going to stay there. And I can back up really, really far. So let's switch back to bird's view. And we'll just fly past this thing. And then I'll swipe up so we can fly really fast. So right now I'm moving as fast as you possibly can in this game. And you'll notice that, the world looks like we're coming to the edge, but it's still pretty far. It's not like this took me 2 seconds to get to the edge of the world. So here we are, and I can tap anywhere to stop flying. And so now I'll turn around and you can see how big this world really is. Again, we can fly back to what we drew. Let's swipe, 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 flying max speed. Oops, let's fly again. And so we're going max speed, but it's not super close. We have tons of space in this world, basically, is the point that I'm trying to drive. So that is Zoodle VR. Really quickly, I guess I can show you some more worlds. So we'll swipe again. And again, the names are behind. So let's try the arrows. Let's see here. Yeah, so the names aren't updating, which is annoying, but I can definitely bring you through some of the other virtual worlds that I have here. So let's go to this one. This one's super cool. Now, again, you can't hear the soundscapes here, and that's the most unfortunate part, because I think that AR, VR definitely are hyper, enhanced when you add sound. You definitely have sound in the real world, so it's always a good idea to have sound inside of your experience. And so in this world, you would hear crickets, and you would hear the sound of the water and all these different things. But again, this is just really cool that we've created a way that you have a place that you can go and just kind of create whatever art you want and do whatever you want. And there aren't any real consequences. It's just a place for fun. And again, everything that I've created in the past, you have access to here. So if you wanted to take a cool picture or whatever, you can do that, So let's press the reset button here. And wanted to point out these guys. So the BrainKit agents that I created in the past, these are all like live animals. You can see he's a little messed up right now, but they are all here too. They all work in virtual reality as well. So if I put him down, you can see now he's walking around, and same thing. I can move closer or farther away and get super close to him, or back up and get super far and just kind of leave him behind. But that doesn't stop his brain from operating. So the whole time, even if I'm all the way over here, it doesn't have to deload or anything. It actually continues to update. It continues to think, even though I'm many, many, many miles away. So that is Zoodle VR. One or two more worlds and features I can show you here. So again, we have the stickers still. You can swipe, switch stickers, pinch to make them smaller. And then we also have 3D decorations, which at the moment are still mapped to the real world. So they're completely ignoring the VR world and basically only reacting to things that are in real world. So working on that feature still. Zoodle VR isn't done, but I definitely wanted to show you guys what I've been working on. and then show you how you can create your own. One more world I'll show you, just because this one cost me some time and money to create. This one's also really cool. This is the moon. So again, super huge world with tons and tons going on. And let's see here, one more. This one takes the longest to load. And so again, I'm still working on this, no loading screens yet, but this one's ancient Egypt, and that's why it takes so long to load, because it is the full deal. So we have a couple of pyramids, we have statues, temples, all that type of stuff. I am working on like an educational Egypt VR app, but it's taking some time, taking a little bit longer than expected, just because all the assets have to be so high quality, and also obviously cost money. So working on Egypt VR, and this is kind of the world that I created to start creating that world and just have a free place to explore and feel like you're in ancient Egypt. So again, I wish you guys could hear the music that goes along with each one of these worlds. You can see there's a mute feature as well. So at the moment you can't hear it, but definitely super cool. And I'm going to show you how we built this. So let's stop this here. Oops, not easy to get out of. All right, there we go. And again, if you have any questions, let's see if there's any new questions. So we'll dismiss this one and this one and this one. So what did you spend money on other than modeling assets? Really, it's just the modeling assets. I would say maybe animation as well. We have Martine on our team. He's someone in France who I've been working with to create cardboard soldiers, and he has done all the animation for cardboard soldiers. So I spend money on him, but outside of that, really for VR, AR, I would say it's just assets. It's just the little things that I don't feel like making. You know, I don't know how to make a bird in 3D, and I don't know how to make a lot of things in 3D. So I spend money on them, and it speeds up development. So that's it. But definitely you could learn how to do those things and you would save a lot of money. So let's start a new project here in Xcode. We'll go to File, File, New, and we'll do a new project. And so again, Xcode is the app that you would use to create apps. You can download this in the Apple App Store. If you have a Mac, if you are on Windows, you won't be able to download Xcode, but at least you're learning about the process and getting a little bit more insight into this. I can say this is something that would be possible through Unity, but again, some of the solutions I've come up with are exclusive to AugmaOS, which is exclusive to iPhone and iPad. So definitely, I would highly recommend going about this with Xcode, because there is a rumor that there are devices coming that would do AR and VR. And I think it's a good idea to create things that work for AR and VR. I didn't show you in our little demo here. Let me really quickly hop back. So you can see the app is still on. I actually just put the iPad down. I didn't do anything, but everything's still working, and that's thanks to the LiDAR sensor that's on this iPad. So the new iPhone 12 Pro and this iPad Pro, they have a LiDAR sensor in it. It's basically a laser scanner, and it automatically improves every ARKit experience. So again, that's why we're building this on top of ARKit, because everything that we're doing theoretically should work for any future Apple devices that work with AR and VR. So that's why I'm really pushing you guys towards Xcode and ARKit, because it's future-proof and it's something that I could definitely see powering a much more powerful device in the future. So back in this VR world, if we go to our advanced settings menu, so we'll tap the gear logo there. You can see this loads our advanced settings menu, which is in all of our AugmaOS apps. If we go to the wrench here, now in the developer settings, I've created a new setting where it will toggle. So if you're in AR mode, it'll say VR and you can switch to VR. If you're in VR mode, you can switch to AR mode. So I'll tap here And now you can see we're back into the real world. So this is basically, I just wanted to point out that this AR app is a VR app and the VR app is an AR app. There's really no difference. In the code, it actually literally just says VR mode, and it's just a true or false. And that's kind of how I've organized everything. So if we go back to our menu, I don't want to look at that screen again. It kind of made me dizzy. So again, we will go to our wrench. Let's find our wrench again. There it is. And you can see now it says VR, so we'll tap VR and give it a moment to load because Egypt is our biggest world. And now you can see we're back in our VR world. So super cool, super easy. And that's basically why I'm teaching you this method, because it gives you that ability to switch in between AR and VR mode, which honestly, you can look in the App Store right now. I don't think there is any other app that does that on command like that. There may be some apps that are like portals where you can be in your living room, and then if you walk 3 or 4 feet, you're in a VR world and it's super cool. And if you walk backwards, you're back in the AR world. But what I've created is a full replacement that just allows you to toggle on AR or VR mode anywhere. And from there, run different code specific to which mode you're in. So to get started, you want to create an augmented reality app in Xcode. So again, we hit File, New Project, and again, sorry, every time I click this, it clicks over. So File, New Project, and then Augmented Reality app. We'll hit Next. And so what are we going to call this product? Let's just call it VR Sim. Great. For your team, you want your account selected. This would be your Apple ID account, which turns into your developer account once you've signed up. Organization identifier, just the name of your company or your imaginary company. Content technology, this is deciding which version of the game engine will you be using. So RealityKit is the easiest one. It's built on top of ARKit, and it requires a lot less code. But I would say overall, it's same functionality, but you get more control if you were to use SceneKit, and that's why SceneKit is selected, because it's more so that medium in the middle game engine solution. So this is Apple's built-in game engine, and it's a lot more flexible than just RealityKit, and therefore I would always recommend SceneKit over RealityKit if you want it to create a very powerful experience. If you want it to create AR, RealityKit works well, but if you want to create very powerful experiences, I think SceneKit is still the better solution. SpriteKit is for creating 2D experiences. So if you only were dealing with 2D images, let's say sprites or GIFs or something like that, and you wanted to put them in AR, then SpriteKit would be fine. But if you had full 3D models, you would never be able to use SpriteKit. And then we have Metal. Metal is the lowest level graphics API that's built into Xcode. So again, this is the game engine that's controlling everything. And if you were to use Metal, this is where you could create and bring in your own game engine. So if you have an existing game engine that works in C++ or something else, this is where you would work with Xcode to port that engine over. Would be in Metal is how you could port a game engine to the iPhone. So hopefully I explained that well. Again, you don't even need to worry about this because by default, SceneKit should be selected. So tap SceneKit, and then the rest of this should be fine. You want to make sure that we're in Swift because that is our programming language. That's the modern programming language, and we'll hit Next from here. Of course, you want to give it a location. I'm just going to put it on my desktop, and let's go ahead and create this. Now, if we hop over on the left-hand side here, where we have this pane, we can tap our viewcontroller.swift, and we'll go down to this viewDidLoad function. So if you don't know how to code, that's okay. All you really need to know is that everything in between these two brackets is code, and it's basically instructions that get run when this particular thing is pushed. So imagine this as the push of a button. It's called a function. And basically every time someone pushes the button that's mapped to this function, all of these instructions inside of the brackets will run. And that's basically all you need to know about coding, really. There's obviously a lot more to coding, but definitely you can hack things together, and that's what we're going to do today, because it's pretty complicated to show you everything I created, but definitely I can get you started. So here where it says let scene equal scn scene named art.scn assets blah blah blah, that's loading in a 3D model of a ship by default when you get started. So we've talked about this in the past, but here's that ship. And see, we have this 3D ship here, and you can see it's located in the art.scn assets folder. And this is the default folder where any 3D models would go. So I like to keep things simple. I would say put everything 3D in this art.scn assets folder, keep all of your code on this .swift page, and design your app as far as the buttons, the interface of the actual app. You would design that here in the storyboard. That's a standard app to me. A lot of people like to make it more complicated, but really there's just code and assets, and you're just trying to pin them together. So again, back in our line 26, we're going to change that, and let's change it from ship.scn to VR world, and we'll leave it like that. So back on the near future website, again, it's nearfuture.marketing. And again, you click augmented reality today. We can click our free assets, and in our free assets, we did have what was called the VR World Mini. So you should just download this entire folder because there's the cool island in there as well. But yeah, download that stuff, and I have it here on my desktop. So let me just find it. Desktop, please sort. Yeah, it's very unorganized before this. And so here's my VR World Mini. We're just going to drag and drop it right there in our art.scn assets. And actually, I do need the rest of this stuff. I could find it. Let's do that instead. So we'll go to projects. And so right now, I'm just going to bring in all the assets that we need. So don't worry about following me. This is just the same thing that you would be doing, but my stuff is in different folders. So here we are. All right, so I'm copying this directly from the Zoodle app now. And we're just going to grab the sand, maybe the snow, the skybox, and this perfect day picture here. And so we'll drag and drop all of these. Let's copy them and then paste. And so, yeah, we'll drag and drop these all here. All right, so now that I have all of that, we can take a look at this VR world, and then I can show you how it's created. So this is a VR world. If we use two fingers to pan up or down, we can move in or out in this world. So you can see I'm moving left and right and up and down. If I pinch, I can move in and out. And then if I left click and push left or right, that's how we can rotate. So this is a 3D world, and the origin, the 000, where these arrows show up, that's the middle of the world, and that's basically the default location where everything will start. So to create this world, all you need to do is go to the art.scn assets folder, you right click it and tap new file, and then we can name it VR world. And then by default, you'll have this camera in here. So let's click it and just delete that. And then let's tap the plus button. And in that plus button, this brings up this menu where we can bring in all sorts of things that work in a 3D world. So you can see we have planes, boxes, spheres, lights, 3D text, physics and particles, and everything else in between. What we're looking for today is going to be the sphere. So let's tap sphere. We'll just drag and drop it right there in the middle. Now, even though I dropped it in the middle, it won't go exactly to our world origin. So you'll see here on the right where it says position, it's not quite 0, 0, 0. So we'll tap 0 and then tab 0, tab 0. So now it's perfectly centered. If we pinch and kind of zoom in to the middle of this one, you'll notice that we can see right through it. We can't see the inside of the world like we could in the other example. So how would we fix that? Well, first, let's go ahead and click our sphere. And at the top here, where we have the little circle, we can change to the material inspector. And this is where we can change the material of any of our 3D objects. So right now you can see we have this sphere and it's just white. On the right side where it says properties, we can see it's physically based, which just means it's trying to have like realistic lighting. So you can see there's some shadows and highlights, and as I move around, it kind of reacts to the world. And what we can do here in our diffuse, this is like the default texture. This is like the skin of that object. So if we click and let's maybe just change the color to yellow, you notice that now the ball turns yellow. And if we click back into our diffuse and click green, now the ball has turned green. So if we click back in one more time, below these colors, you'll notice that all of the textures that we have in our SCN assets folder automatically show up. So everything that's showing up here is everything that's in the folder over here. And it's only images, so you won't see any 3D models here. So we have our perfect day image. Let's go ahead and click that one. And that will basically add the texture to our world. So we have our texture on now. Again, we can't see it in the inside, and it also looks a little dull. So if we scroll down to the bottom, or actually, sorry, we'll stay here at the top, where it says shading, physically based, we'll click that drop down menu, and let's change this to constant. And so constant is a lot better for this type of image because it's just a constant lighting that's not really affected by any other lights. And this works really well for our background image. So now we have our world and it has the image on the outside, but again, we still need it on the inside of the world. So if we scroll down here, whoops, so exit that. If we scroll down to visibility here where it says double-sided, we can check that checkbox. And if we pinch in, now you can see we can actually see our world, and it actually is concave. It actually looks like the real world. It looks like a really big sky, and we have lots of room here. And at the bottom, it just looks like infinity. But this is a lot better. And again, if we zoom out, we see kind of the reverse. It's the same image, but it's mapped in a way that doesn't really look like the real world. So we definitely would like to start inside of this sphere. So now that we have our sky, let's, on the left-hand side where it says sphere, we'll double click this. And let's name it VR sky. Perfect. And so now that we have our sky, let's go ahead and add a floor. So we'll click the plus again. Whoops. And let's also close a few apps here just to save some battery. I need to plug up again, but we can at least close some things. And let's go ahead and add our cylinder here. So again, we tap the plus, we'll add a cylinder, drag and drop. And again, we will do 0, 0, 0 for our position. So at the top here, I clicked over from the materials pane to the object pane here, the block. And in position, we'll type 0, 0, 0. And you'll notice that the sphere doesn't quite fit, this cylinder doesn't quite fit in the sphere. And obviously it's also pretty tall, and we won't need most of that. So let's figure out the right measurement to squeeze this inside. Now, before we do that, I think it's important to point out that all of these measurements are in meters. So if we click our VR sky again, it's 111. So if you are American like me, you may not be as familiar with meters. Meters, I would say, are usually about 3.3 feet. So 3.3 times 3.3, this world looks pretty good, but it's actually not that big in the real world. And when we create it, it'd be pretty easy to walk out of this world. So let's bump this up to the proper size. We'll click over to our VR World Mini here. And this one, again, is already completed. So let's look at the size of our sky. And you'll notice that this one is 100 meters in all measurements. And so that would be like 300 square feet, at least I'd say. So let's click back over to our VR world and we will click the sky and let's do 100 100, 100. Cool. So that made our world a lot bigger. You can see now our cylinder easily fits inside of our world. And if we zoom out, you can see that this world is definitely a lot bigger than it used to be. So let's click now on our floor. Again, we'll click our cylinder, and on the left-hand side, let's click it, double click it, and rename it. Let's see, it's not double clicking here. So we'll right click it. And yeah, if it's not double clicking like mine isn't right now, it might maybe because I'm in this object editor. You can click over here on the right side and it's the exact same name. So we can say VR floor and that will rename it. And so for this one, I believe we want it to be about 200 in all directions. So let's try 200 for our X on a scale. We'll try 200 and 200 for the Y. And our Y measurement is actually our up and down here. So let's do a 1 for the Y. And then let's do 200 for Z. And now you can see that almost perfectly fits in our sphere, which is exactly what we want. We don't want it to cut off right at the sky. We want it to kind of extend a little bit beyond the sky, because ideally your user should not be able to get out of the virtual world. They should be stuck in that world until you say otherwise. So great, we have a floor, we have a sky, and they're pretty big, and they're pretty, they're pretty big. So let's click on our floor. And again, we'll click back over to our material editor. And again, we'll go down to diffuse and change this to our seamless sand diffuse. So again, you should have gotten this image out of our free assets folder on Google Drive. And once you've downloaded that and placed it in the art.scn assets folder, it should show up here in your diffuse textures. So now that we have our texture here, one thing that's going on is that the size is just really set to whatever size is the default size. So right now our scale for our texture, if you click this drop down menu, if you expand it, is set to 1. So if we tap these plus bars here, you'll notice that things start to get skinnier in the middle. And let's change this to constant here. So at the top where it says shading, we'll change it to constant. And now it's a lot easier to see our sand. And so again, if we zoom in, we can see that it's getting skinnier because we're increasing the scale. So I've increased it to 134. And if I increase it on the other end, you'll notice that the same thing happens over here. So now we've decreased it down to, or increased it to 134 by 134 for the scale. So the texture is being tiled endlessly across this entire floor for as big as this model is. So we don't have to worry about if there's enough sand here. It will just automatically completely fill the world. So this is great because now we have a sky and we also have a floor. The next thing that we would need to do, and one thing I do want to point out is that the name of this texture is called a seamless texture. So you'll see here it says seamless sand diffuse. If we were on the web, let's just try Google, and we just type in seamless textures and go to images. You'll find a bunch of different textures that basically are patterns, and they're built for game engines like this, where when you put the texture in and you increase the scale as we just did, the texture would tile endlessly. So if you look up seamless textures, you can find tons of different textures that tile endlessly, and I think they work very well when creating a VR floor that is infinite. So hope that helps. But back here in our project, so we have our world, we have our floor. One more thing that we'll notice, let's just go ahead and run our app. So we'll go back to our viewcontroller.swift. And again, remember, we only changed one line of code today. We changed our let scene equal scn scene from ship.scn to vrworld.scn. So now that we have that vrworld.scn, everything should load pretty well. So let's go ahead and deploy this on our iPad, and that's I think a weird glitch here. It says that we can't deploy to the iPad because it's not the right OS version, but I actually built this demo earlier today, so that's interesting. Let's try opening the project again. file, open, and so we'll just open the same project again. And then one thing I'm also going to change, it is possible that something updated since I started this, but we'll change the deployment target from iOS 14.1 to iOS 13, just in case. So let's see. And yeah, that fixed it. So let's go ahead and run. So now we're running our sample app here, our new demo app that we just built. We're pushing it directly to my iPad. Again, we only changed one line of code. This was mostly about the assets here. So we will let that run. And while that runs, I'm going to open QuickTime again and share my screen. So file. I really hate how this takes over, if you guys notice. So perfect, this is running now, and we'll just switch to my iPad and let that load. Okay, and so let's click here. Perfect, so here we have our new app that we just built. And if we look down, it looks like we are probably below the floor. So you can't see the floor because it's not double-sided, but we can definitely see our sky. So this is a great start. If you think about it, it's really cool how I didn't write any code at all, but already the device is detecting which direction I'm looking in. So again, we built this on top of ARKit, and as a result, we automatically get that accelerometer and gyroscope data, and we're automatically using it even though we didn't add any special code yet. So this is great because now we're in our first virtual world. We just don't have a floor, but definitely we can still stand up, walk around, and add whatever other things we'd like to add to this world. So let's go back to Xcode and let's fix our glitch here. So we'll go back to our VR world scene. And this is the big difference in working on like VR worlds, I would say, and AR worlds. AR worlds in ARKit, they really do involve a lot of code. It involves, predicting where things are going to show up for your user in the real world, even though you have no idea where they're going to launch the app. And I think that's the hardest part of augmented reality is you're building something that changes based on where the user is. And really, you have no idea where they are. You have no idea if they're mobile, if they're not mobile. And that's, I think, why AR is so challenging, but also so rewarding. VR, on the other hand, in typical practice, doesn't care at all about the real world. The only thing that VR really cares about is the orientation of the camera, which is controlled by the camera that you have mounted to your head usually. So in our virtual world, we just have a completely different way to design our world. We can actually view it here in our 3D viewer and work on our world. Whereas in an AR world, we would work on mostly code, and it's really mostly going to look like this when you're working on AR. But that's the cool part about VR is that when you're working on VR, you can actually focus on Hey guys, okay, cool. Looks like we still have some attendees. Yeah, I forgot to plug my laptop. I had to use the same cord that I charged my laptop with to push everything to the iPad, so that's my bad. But now that we're plugged back in with our 1%, let's finish up our demo here. So we'll go back to Xcode. And so the next thing that we were going to do was working on making sure that the floor is adjusted and fits in our world. So let's go back to our VR world mini, and we'll just grab the measurements from this one. So we click our VR floor here, and we'll click into our materials. You can see that I position the floor about 1.5 meters, almost 2 meters below the user, below that 000 point that we're loading when we're in AR. And what that's doing basically is pushing the floor about 4 to 5 to 6 feet below the user. And that basically is the average height of a person. So by default, we're just assuming that this person is probably between 4 to 6 feet, and therefore we're putting the floor somewhere appropriate. That way, even if we haven't mapped the world to the real world, at least it feels like the floor is in the right place. So that's what we're doing here. We'll grab that measurement and then hop back over to our VR world and give that measurement to our floor here. And then go ahead and tab out. And then for our sky, it seemed to be in the right place. So let's actually just leave it. And let's go ahead and run this again. It might be a better idea for me to run this on my iPhone this time. So let's go ahead. I could run it without wires to my iPad, but that may slow down the stream. So we'll plug in my iPhone and let's go ahead and run this on my iPhone. So give this a moment to build. Again, thank you guys for joining. I know it's been a long time since we've done one of these, but I do appreciate everyone who watches, and I definitely want to bring more and more content in the future. Let's go ahead and hop over now that this is loaded, and we'll switch to my iPhone. Perfect. And so now you can see we have the exact same app running on my iPhone this time, but now we have our floor and we have our sky. So this is the start of creating a VR world. This is really all you need to do to create a VR world. And I think it's so simple that, you know, most people don't think about it. They think like, oh, AR is one thing and oh, VR is one thing. Again, I really believe that they are conjoined twins. And as a result, you know, you need AR to build VR. And anything that works in VR should work pretty well in AR. So definitely try out this demo to build a little world. And then again, from here, it's up to you when it comes to code, but definitely you don't need to know how to code to drag and drop things into this world. So let's take that ship that we had by default. It's included with the project. So let's left click, drag and drop it directly into our VR world. And now if I zoom in here, you'll notice that that ship is in our VR world. So this is how you can start to build out a world. Once you've built your VR world, your scene, you really just need to have other 3D objects and then drag and drop them into that world and then position them using these 3D tools. You don't need to know how to code at all to build a VR world. So let's go ahead and maybe just bump the scale up on this jet. Let's maybe make it a 10 by 10 by 10. That way it's super easy for us to see it when we load in. And then maybe let's add in one more object. So we'll find the, oh, I know exactly what to add here. We'll go back. Let's go back to Zoodle. So again, if you just go to the Google Drive, this object is available there. It's this artoday.scene. And actually, I guess I could download it from here. Let's see how long that takes. So this is what you would do. You would download the entire folder or just these two. And as you can see, I'm downloading it again. They're not that big. And then once we have them, let's go ahead and drag and drop them into our projects. So take these, drag and drop it into that art.scn assets folder. And then we'll go back here. And again, you have to be in your VR world already. So we click into the VR world, and then we'll drag and drop the ARtoday.scene. And this is pretty cool. I paid $30 to get this made, but it's a 3D model of our logo. So the logo I designed for the meetup, there's now a cool 3D model for it, and I'm going to use it in a lot more demos. So let's go ahead and make that a 15 by 15 by 15. That is massive. But it looks like it still fits in our VR world. You can see it outside of our world if you're not too sure whether or not it fits. So it definitely fits, and that's going to look super cool in our VR world. So now that we've done that, we don't have to make any changes to the code because, again, we're just working in our 3D file, our vrworld.scene, and all of those changes are reflected because the code is just loading this specific file. So we don't need to make any other changes here. In our floor, if you wanted to make it look a little bit more realistic, we can zoom in here. And again, you know, we're literally looking at grains of sand here, but we can actually add a little bit more texture. So we'll click our floor and let's click the material button, and where it says, so let's minimize diffuse. Where it says diffuse, we'll click the arrow again. That makes it smaller. And now that allows us to come down to the, actually, looks like we can change this to maybe Lambert or blend. There we go. So if you change it to Lambert, it should still look exactly the same, but you'll get this extra field called normal. And in normal, this is where we can add another texture. So we'll add our seamless sand normal here. Again, it's included in the folder. And what that does is it just adds these kind of ripple effects to our sand. And it might not be that easy to notice because, again, the scale is set to 1. So let's increase the scale here. And let's, oops, 134. And we'll do 134 for the other scale. And so, again, you can't notice this right now. But when you're actually running the app and you have realistic lighting enabled, basically you'll see each one of these little ripples in the sand without actually having to deform the 3D model and add more polygons and physically, you know, make these ripples. Instead, you'll still see the ripples, you'll see the reflections or shadows, whatever's related to them. It's called a normal map. But let's add that normal map to your floor, and then that should make things look a little bit more realistic. So let's run this app one more time on my iPhone. Build succeeded. Give it a moment. And let's hop back over to QuickTime. And again, you can see that we're in our virtual world, but this time the updates we made are here. So we can see it says AR today. There's our cool 3D model, and we can see that jet that's included with every project. It's all the way over there, but it's massive just as we want it because it's easy to see now. And again, we have full control as far as direction. I'm just really pointing in whatever direction. And just to show you guys one more time, let's turn on my camera. You can see what I'm doing at the same time. So turn on my camera, we'll switch the view, and we'll add my camera to the view. Hopefully it's not too messy in here. But what I want you guys to see, I'll just give it a second. I know there's a delay. All right, so you should be able to see me at the same time as you can see the virtual world. But you can see I'm in this chair and I'm actually rotating in the real world, and I'm looking up and I'm looking down, and that's all reflected in our app because it's all built on top of augmented reality. So again, this is how you would create a VR world in AR, not too complicated. And from here, you really just build out the rest of the app and add whatever code or programming. But I just wanted to give you the measurements and kind of some of the starter assets to get started creating your own virtual world. So I hope this helps. And I think that's really it for today's demo. So if you guys have any more questions, go ahead and type them in the chat box right now. But again, I do appreciate you guys for joining. Thank you. And we will have some more content coming really, really soon. I think coming soonest, let's switch this around. let's just finish with me. So yeah, coming most soon, I want to do a boot camp and I want to do a hackathon. So I'm working on those, but definitely I think we're going to do a boot camp very soon where we just have one lesson a day and we'll build an app a day and you guys can build your skills and just learn a little bit more about the process every day, because I do love hosting these sessions and obviously I don't always prepare for them, but definitely I think that would be more fun to me, would be to just go in and know that, hey, this is a boot camp, it's rough, it's dirty, we're just going to do this really quickly, and whatever we do today is going to build on, or whatever we do tomorrow will build on today's lesson. So I want to do that maybe in a week. So if you would like that, please feel free to reach out to me and I can kind of make sure we tailor that towards what you'd like to see. But that's the end of today's session. It's 2 o'clock on the dot, so I think we can wrap this up. I didn't have too much planned today. I just wanted to show you that because I really don't think anyone else has created an app like that. So that should be coming out soon. Looks like there's no more questions, so I'll wrap it up here. You guys have a great day, and I will see you soon. Take care.